Good everyone. I hope you guys have an amazing day. So, what I'm going to do today, I'm going to talk about a very interesting idea. Interesting topic. Build prototypes and pitch your ideas, right? I think you guys are excited as well as I'm. So in the previous episode, we talked about different stuff, right? And we've been talking about how to future-proof the customer innovation and how to brainstorm stuff and how to book a retreat or get together as a team to discuss the stuff, right? Now that's all great, right? You came up with an idea and you know what you want to do, right? Now it's the next stage. That's to prototype it, right? Obviously, just talking about the ideas is not just good enough, right? You need to prototype it. Even if you wanted to pitch in front of a stakeholder or an investor, you need to have something to show to them, right? You can talk about different stuff. You can talk about, zillions of things, but obviously an investor will be interested to see at least a prototype, right? Because they wanted to know if you are serious or not, and prototype will give you an opportunity to you know think about things which you may not have thought about when you were brainstorming the idea, right? Now, I'm not saying that when you talk about the prototype you need to just go and build a full-fledged app or full-fledged a software system. I'm just saying even you can do that a cut down version. At least if you can build a wireframe. I mean, wireframe usually won't cut it, to be honest. If you're advertising for a software stuff, right? At least a cut down version of an app would be good, right? If you're promoting if you are promoting a software solution to somebody, at least having a tiny bit of solution, right, a starting point will be a good option. Wireframe, unfortunately, will not cut it for a software solution because if I'm an investor, I would expect that person to at least invest the kind of technology used to build a tiny bit of functionality, right? Let's say if you wanted to build an app which takes a picture of your food and tells you, hey, this food is a carbonara, or if it's a um, pomodoro pasta, or if it's a lasagna, or is a spaghetti bolognese, or schnitzel, or whatever, right? Or couscous. So if you want your app to perform that, right? If that is what you're trying to achieve, and if you're going for a funding, at least the investor would say, at least show me some part of the app. At least you can take a picture of, let's say, carbonara and tell you, oh, it's a carbonara. At least build a prototype to show that, right? Rather than completely doing a wireframe, that's not really going to cut it, right? If I'm an investor, I would say at least you should have built for to recognize one kind of a cuisine, right? So that's important, and also, when you're building a prototype, you might have to come up with a design, right? You can ask people to, sketch it out and give you an idea, right? Sometimes it has to start somewhere, right? Because obviously when you're building an app, it needs to know where the button will look, where the positioning of your capture button, or for instance, in this case, capturing a picture of your cuisine or menu, right? And then maybe an AI engine to tell you what is it like. So obviously, when you're building a prototype, you need to consider a few things, right? First of all, the kind of the technology you're going to use. So which audience you're going to target? Are you going to target an Android user, uh, or an iPhone, or you're going to target the tablets at the same time, right? Obviously, the tablets are the best because most of the time people do use tablets rather than laptops. Or are you going to build a desktop based application as well? So let's assume, for the sake of argument, that you're targeting only the phone user, right? Mobile user, cell phone user, Android and iPhone, and you decide to go with a React JS component, React JS native to build your cross-platform app, right? And then you also decide to use, let's say, a version of a PyTorch Python code to do an image recognition, right? So you might have a image recognition model which you've trained in PyTorch. So obviously you might need to have an API which talks to your app. So there you go. A tiny version of your great mobile app is ready. to be demonstrated. So that's how you prototype it, right? I mean, you can all, like I said, right? You need to train at least one model, not every cuisine, right? Because that's a starting point. If I invest for at least, I might ask, okay, what technology you use? What about the scalability, right? And do you have a team of developers who are going to build it for you? The kind of different conversation gets started. So and pitching an idea do sometimes involve making a PowerPoint as well. Obviously, you need to sell your idea, right? And image always works. Pictures always work than words. So that's I'm a big believer on that. And even there was a study, right? If you're interested in different psychoanalysis, right? There's this guy called Carl Jung, right? I would highly encourage you to check it out. He was a Swiss psychiatrist. He talks about different aspects of it, right? If you study some of his work, right, and he mentioned somewhere that words are not important as the pictures, right? Because you can convey way more information using an image, right? So that's why it's important to have a PowerPoint presentation when you're going to pitch your ideas, right? So that's something you need to keep into consideration, right? It doesn't matter um, you're going for a funding or you're going for a you know, charity work where you want your app to be accepted in that community, right? So it needs to have some kind of foundation. It needs to have some kind of backing. It needs to have some kind of backing in the sense in the form of a slide or as well as a demo app, right? So if you look at the trailhead, right, it talks about different kinds. Prototypes are cheap and fast. Prototypes makes concrete the ideas that are in our head, which is true. Prototypes help creators take ownership of the solution. Obviously, you will be responsible for building it because the problem is, like I tell from my experience, right? When I started my foundation, Protect Plan Foundation, I started writing blogs, right? Obviously, I still do, but I've slowed down a bit. I should start again. I wanted to build a language model for the planet, climate change. And I've been talking about it, talking about it. Eventually, I got bored of it, right? Then I said, okay, I'm going to start working on it. So I started working, prototyping it. And I've been working on it for past almost a month now. So yeah, it's going somewhere, right? So I'm building it. So and I'm using PyTorch to build it, and I'm building it. So at least I'm taking ownership of the solution, even though my and a couple of people volunteered in New Zealand to help me out. So which is great. So it's growing eventually, right? It's a non-profit, and I founded this keeping Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation into consideration, and so that we can talk about climate change, right, throughout the world. We can go to the remotest part of Iceland and can talk about climate change with people. My foundation can help them, can fund universities over the course of time. That's a long-term vision, right? And it also do something around gene editing, right, to make our product more sustainable. So a lot of exciting things, right? So, I mean, for me, this specific topic really resonate, right? Because obviously I need to pitch in front of different people, right? So first of all, getting people to get excited about my foundation itself is a pitching, right? Because why would someone want to spend their free time working helping out? So you need to pitch. I had to pitch in such a way to make them realize that hey, it's not about the money when it comes to the survival of our species, right? When I was raised on survival, what's the use of money, right? Money is just a temporary transactional channel which you use to have a transaction between two important people, right? Let's say you get stuck in an island, right, when no one is there. Even if you have trillions of dollars, like I read this somewhere, right? What's the point of the money, right? Who are you going to transact with? Right? You can't eat the money. You can't give it to that different insects or animals living there. This is pointless for them, right? So what's the point of money? They're pretty much worthless in an island. So so I have to give that analogy to people just to and so but what is important, right? If that planet if that island disappears, it impacts you staying over there, impacts the wildlife staying over there, impacts the plant life. So so it's a global impact. So that's one of the way I try to pitch to people. Hey, if you want to be part of my foundation, you're most welcome, especially if you live in New Zealand, right? So yeah, that's something you need to pay attention to, right? How you pitch your ideas, how you build a prototype. prototype plays a very important role. You might have zillions of ideas, but without a prototype, it won't no one going to cut it, right? That's one of the investors told me. I'm not going to waste my time to listening to somebody without a prototype who's lazy enough not to even build one. That's something he told me a long time ago. One of the investor when I wanted to pitch for one of the company I wanted to start, but unfortunately it didn't work out because I didn't have a prototype, right? And investors said I'm not interested. So yeah, it's very important, right? You back up your idea with a prototype. So that's why this module is very important. So yeah, and some more exciting stuff. You know, this kind of squiggly kind of stuff, right? So when you're building, like I said, right, when you're building an app, right, you might ask different people opinion. Hey, can you draw out to me some sort of layout? Some people are hesitant to do that because they say, "Oh, my drawing sucks," but it doesn't matter. Sometimes a funky a diagram can have a very huge impact, more than you can anticipate. So that's something I always encourage people, right? It's important, right? It doesn't matter whatever idea you have, write it down, draw it somewhere. You never know. So yeah, that's pretty much I wanted to talk about it, and I hope you enjoyed it. And I mean, like I said, I'm having so much of fun teaching you guys this course. This is entirely it's kind of a Salesforce agnostic, though this topic can be used across different tech, right? Doesn't matter you're a Salesforce guy or AWS guy or a PyTorch guy or a TensorFlow guy or a genetics guy, right? Building a solution to work on CRISPR, right? So it doesn't matter. So this module is applicable to everyone. So that being said, I hope you guys have an amazing Wednesday. Adios.